All good. So, this is the Bayou Dragon Podcast. We have been working on this for a very long time. I'm Porter. This is Mitchell, and we are welcoming our first ever podcast guest on our first ever podcast, wildlife biologist Andrew Austin.
Great to be here.
I was excited that Andrew came by today to join us on this podcast, our first one at that, and happy to have you here today, man.
Yep, we've done a lot of hunting and fishing together, and it's great to return to the hometown crew. You know,
Hampshire, Finette, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of good memories.
Well, Andrew, me and him have done a lot of bass fishing among the years. One time it was so cold, I remember he literally got in the rod box, and because it was freezing cold, he's like, man, fuck this. Got in and hid until the fish started biting.
Toledo Bend?
Toledo Bend.
What's the biggest fish you've ever caught, Andrew? Largemouth bass.
man, been bass fishing my whole life, but I still haven't hung a 5+. I think some people just have shit luck. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's just a reality. That's just part of it. 5 pounds, 6 pounds, maybe.
That's Mitchell.
Yeah.
He has shit luck.
Yeah.
I do. I've caught a bunch of fish, but I have the same shit luck you have. 5.5, I think, was my biggest one. And Porter over here catching all the hogs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this week I caught 2 over 5. Just
Ridiculous.
fucking around in Finette.
Golly.
But this is our first ever podcast. So everybody tuning in on the actual podcast, we have TikTok live over there, so they get to hear it firsthand, no editing. So we're super pumped up, really excited to do this. So we just really want this podcast to be about talking about outdoors, or what we do this weekend. What'd you do, or what do you have any big plans, traveling? You know, we all have a bunch of shit going on in our lives. Mitchell's building a house, so he's doing his own thing. Andrew's working in and out of Houston, Texas, and working down at home, being a herpetologist and a biologist. I'm just a piece of shit, and I just fish or hunt whenever I can. So
Yeah, me and Porter talked a lot about it, and we don't want to keep it just hunting, just fishing. We want to, what's going on, what do we got going on, and keep it interesting. So, Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? And we go back a long way, so let's talk about it a little bit. What do you do? And
Yeah.
your podcast, and
First off, my passion is the outdoors. It's wildlife. At a young age, I discovered I really liked wildlife, and that was through hunting and fishing, but also going out looking for snakes and stuff. And I kind of got Porter into that a little bit back in the day, back in high school. Yeah, you had a bit of an experience with a cottonmouth. I don't know if that's my fault or not. We can talk about that later. But I went ahead and studied wildlife biology. Wasn't much for school, but I figured if I can grind it out, it could lead to a pretty cool life of working in the outdoors. And now I work for an environmental company and do a lot of wetland surveys and that sort of thing. And I run a podcast myself. I spend a lot of time running around, hunting and fishing, looking for wildlife, just pursuing the great outdoors. That's pretty much it.
well, I mean, today we called you to come help us with all this, and your first deal is like, yeah, I'll be there in 30 minutes, but I got to take a picture of the snake.
Yeah.
Like,
I started I'm doing a little snake project on I just moved back home to Finette, Texas. Best city in the world. And I live on a little bit of property, and I want to know what kind of snakes are out there. So I set up it's called a drift fence trap. It's how a biologist surveys for snakes. And I caught my very first snake today, and it was a big old rat snake. Chicken snake is what most people know them as. But yeah, that's right when y'all called me. I was pulling it out of the trap, getting bit all over the place.
we looked at each other and laughed.
I heard y'all laugh.
yeah,
We looked at each other and laughed. We're like, that
Well,
sounds about right.
Yeah.
I was not surprised. It's like, hey, man, would you like to come have a steak dinner and do a podcast? Yeah, man, as soon as I catch the snake.
Yeah.
Well, we all knew growing up through school that Andrew was going to work in the outdoors in one way or another. I mean, he was always outside,
Oh, yeah.
looking for snakes or bass fishing or
Yeah,
waterfowl hunting, one of the three.
me and Andrew, growing up, I felt honored that, like, I got him a little bit into bass fishing, like, lake fishing,
Yeah.
taking him on the boat. showing him the works on that, and he was showing me how to, like, he was catching snakes, and I was watching and thinking that's cool as shit, so I thought I could do it.
Yeah.
But not as good. Not as good since I did get bit by a cottonmouth one time.
Yeah.
That was
put you in the hospital for a few days, huh?
Yeah, 3 days. What was cool was the doctor was like, man, however much alcohol and nicotine you're on, it saved your life. Like, your blood flow is so slow right now. It's like 3 times slower than it's supposed to be. I was like, perfect. Like, so what have you had to drink? I was like, an 18-pack of Budweiser and a handle of Fireball. He's like, that saved your arm.
Well, I remember coming to see you in the hospital, and they're like, yeah, Porter got bit on the pinky, right? Or was it on the...
No, index finger.
It was on one of your fingers. I got bit on the finger. I was like, he's going to be fine. I pull up in that hospital and go in there. You're swole up to your elbow.
Well, so I was with I remember I was with Tanner, and we were frogging during this whole deal, and there's people, we're in a rice field, so there's like a big levee. I'm just walking through the water, and everybody's like, oh, there's a snake right there. Catch it. Okay, cool. I caught it, successfully caught it, didn't get bit, threw it away. Then, of course, some girls, some females, are like, man, I didn't get to see the snake, so I went to grab it again and just grabbed it wrong. Grabbed it like right by the tail. It turned around.
Struck you right on the hand.
Oh, dude, got me. And I was like, oh, no, this is not good. So got in the car. I took a cold beer and just wrapped it around my hand with some duct tape and just left it at that. And I kept feeling it get tighter and tighter against that cold beer. And I call Andrew, and I was like, Andrew, hey, telling him the physical signs of it. And he goes, well, first off, is your hand swollen? I was like, it looks like a catcher's mitt. He's like, you're fucked. I was like,
oh, man.
So we left from there. Like, after a half hour, we left the rice field, went to Tanner's house. Like, I washed off. I had mud all the way up to my head because we caught a shit ton of frogs. Washed up, and when I came out, it was already halfway up my arm, and I was like, we got to go, like, yesterday. We get there, and they're like, of course, you go to any hospital in America, they're like, I'll write your name down, wait in line, and I'll just set my hand up there and was like, I got to go now. And they just escorted me right then to the back. They're like, this guy's going to lose his arm.
Oh, shit. So fun. I wish I could have been there, Porter. I remember the phone call, and I was like, God. In most areas around Southeast Texas, water snakes, the non-venomous water snakes like you thought you were catching, they outnumber the cottonmouths 10-1. That's just the way it is around here. You see 10 broad-banded water snakes before you see a cottonmouth. Most snakes you see in the water are not cottonmouths. So I was like, surely it was a water snake. Man, when you told me your hand was swollen, I was like, fuck.
He's done. It was bad.
It's not a death. Getting bit by a cottonmouth is not the end of the world. The last recorded death from a cottonmouth was like 30 years ago or something.
Yeah. I wasn't really worried about dying, but I could have lost.
It could lose. I have met snake people with missing fingers from cottonmouths, though. You can lose a finger.
Yeah, they told me the alcohol saved me. And what was scary was I walked in that hospital. Tanner drove up, and you know how Tanner drives. Not slow, ever. He pulls up going like 138 into the parking lot of the hospital, whips to the front, and I walk in, and I look over, and there's a guy that just got in a motorcycle wreck waiting in line. Like, I'm talking blood gushing out of his forehead, whatever. And I just look at him like, oh, hell no. Like, he'd been waiting there a minute, too, because there's blood drying on the floor. And I was like, y'all got to let me in, or I don't feel like losing a finger today or an arm or die. Yeah. But that was a very neat experience on my part.
Yeah, we grew up catching frogs and doing stuff like that all the time. That was just fuck up by Porter that night, but
yeah, I pooched. But
moral of the story is, I was always happy to get people into catching snakes because if you're an outdoorsman, you probably would enjoy catching snakes, but you need to know what species you're catching.
Yeah,
and don't get bit by the venomous ones because it'll ruin your weekend.
Really, just don't do it drunk.
And alcohol does not go with venomous snakes.
No,
that's the other part.
What also these two do a lot of, and they can talk about it, is a lot of nuisance alligator hunting. Both of them are licensed in the state of Texas.
I haven't caught one in a hot minute, but I am licensed in the state of Texas to catch nuisance alligators live, and I've caught a handful, nothing crazy, but Andrew's probably caught a lot more than me.
I did it for 2 years. I got permitted right when I turned 18. I got my license, and then I did it for 2 years, and then I probably caught about 30 alligators. I caught one. It was 11.6 in Rochelle, Texas. That was the biggest one. It took me 2 months. Just me and one other dude out in the 100-acre lake. Quite a story catching that thing.
Those are hard to catch. That big water.
One rod and reel.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 400-pound animal. 11-foot alligator's big, almost 12-foot alligator's big. One kayak, one rod and reel. We got it somehow. But caught one a little over 10. Yeah, it's a good time. I haven't caught alligators in a while. I went off to school and stuff and wasted my time there and didn't catch any alligators over the past couple of years. But Mitchell and I, we did the alligator wrestling competition together, and we kicked ass.
Yeah, Gator Country used to host. They can't do it anymore, liability reasons. But they used to host a alligator competition every year, and you would catch hot, untaped hot alligators. Different scenarios, different situations, but it was really cool. Yeah, it was a blast, man. Adrenaline rush and a blast. You had some pretty awesome catches during that.
And they weren't just small gators. Like
to me, the worst size is 6 foot, and that's what the size we were catching.
A lot faster
because they're fast. Yeah. They're big enough. They got the bite pressure. Their teeth are still sharp because it's like when they get over 8 feet, their teeth kind of dole out a little bit. This is the worst size possible.
Age.
To get bit by a 6-footer is way worse than to get bit by a 10-footer. In my view.
We saw some bites during that competition.
Oh yeah, bad bites.
Bad bites.
Horrifying bites.
Yeah, but it was a fun time, man, for sure. I look back on those memories. I'll never forget them.
I cherish them. I cherish
One
them.
of my favorite stories with Andrew was the very first time I brought him up to the lake. Me, Mitch, Andrew, and we're on the way up there. And this is Andrew. You're a year younger than us, right?
2
years younger than us. But like we're heading to the lake, and he's like, "Dude, I would love to catch an alligator snapping turtle." And I was like, dude, we might see one, whatever. Well, we end up running like 2-3 trot lines. We have 50 jug lines out. And, of course, the first full day we have, we're going by one of our trot lines, and you see this behemoth. It looks like a damn lazy boy floating in the water. And Andrew, remember how pumped up he was?
Andrew's so passionate about anything to do with
reptilians or amphibians.
And when that alligator snapping turtle surfaced, I can't explain it. He was so excited.
The excitement.
He grabbed that thing and just
started pulling it in my boat.
Trying to pull it into the boat.
What I did,
it took 2 of us to get it in the boat, huh?
Well, y'all pulled me in, the turtle in. All I remember was we're trolling through. I can't remember the cove, whatever it was.
Or in Palagacho Bayou.
Palagacho Bayou. That's what it was. I remember seeing a tail flailing around in the water, and I was like, what the fuck is that? It looked like an otter or something out in the middle of the damn cove. And then I saw the spikes on the shell, and I was like, holy shit, that's a fucking alligator snapping turtle.
And you've been
I didn't know it was on our trot line. In fact, I don't even know if it was our trot line. I felt like it may have just been a random trot line. I can't remember that well, but I grabbed a rod and reel, it had a rattle trap on it, and I fucking slung it out there, and I snagged it because I thought it was just out in the water. I didn't know it was on a trot line. So I snagged it on the neck with that rattle trap, and then we reeled up to it, and it was on the trot line. And then I grabbed it, and it was an 80-pound turtle, and so I couldn't get it over the bow of the boat, so y'all had to pull me in, and it was
with the turtle.
It was that really is I've gone down to Belize, done croc research, done some cool stuff with wildlife. That first alligator snapping turtle is up there on my coolest experiences, and it was on Toledo Bend Reservoir right there in East Texas.
We got a picture of that turtle too.
Yeah, man, it was badass. That was badass.
And we did, for the people listening, we did release it.
Right.
We took photo. Those are dinosaurs. Yeah. So, and I've caught 2 like that. One of them, I was running jug lines one time, and I had like a 6-inch noodle, and it was me and my wife, and old Delaney. And she was on the back of the boat. I'm running the trolling motor, just picking up noodles, and this one just like goes underwater for like 30, 40 seconds. I'm like, we got a slaunch on the line. Comes back up. I go to grab it, and I grab it, and it just pulls right out of my hand. I was like, oh shit, this is a Leviathan.
Yeah. And them things get big, man.
Oh, well, I still thinking it's a catfish. I grab it like by the string, and I get it up, and that son of a bitch comes up. That was that one I posted on Instagram. It was over 100 pounds, easy.
That was back in the day. Oh, no, you're talking about Delaney's catch?
Yeah, Delaney's.
Wait,
that was on Toledo Bend?
Was this?
On Toledo Bend, right by where we caught that other one.
There's a bunch of alligator snappers in
Yeah,
that
no,
car.
I've seen probably 3 or 4, but I got that one in the boat, and I had to make her drive the boat back because I had to sit on it, and it would stand up with me. And I'm like, babe. And I took a piece of 3-inch PVC pipe, like, you know, I was like, just look how strong this is, and it just.
And Andrew can tell you how hard they bite down, I'm sure.
Man, I helped a buddy, Dr. Mark Merchant from McNeese State University. He did an actual study. I never actually looked at his paper, but they bite hard. And I know another person in the academic world that from SFA, a grad student, he caught one last year in East Texas, 140 pounds. He actually weighed it. So they get big.
Yeah.
At 140 pounds, they're probably biting down with, 1,000 PSI.
I wish I would have weighed that one.
Yeah.
But that was when Toledo had a bunch of grass, so when I released it, all the lilies just parted like the Red Sea, and I was like, that is and it's probably, like, guaranteed it's still alive today, and I keep seeing them out there, and I've caught, me and Tanner were fishing out there like 2 years ago, and I throw a wacky worm up on the bank, and I just starts running, set the hook, I was like, oh, we got a for sure enough bass on. And then I was like, oh, no, that's a catfish, because the way it came off the ground and it kind of started swirling, ended up being like a 25, 30-pound alligator snapper.
Dude, I've never heard of someone catch one while bass fishing with a soft plastic.
I caught it on a wacky worm.
That is interesting. That for a reptile nerd like me, that is weird to think about.
Yeah, it's hilarious that I've caught 2 bass fishing and 3 on either trot line or jug line. Caught one in Taylor's Bayou one time with Damon.
Golly, on jugs?
On jugs, yeah. It was just, he grabbed it, and of course, this human is like 6'8", 270 pounds.
He's a large unit.
He just picks it up and makes it look like it's tiny, but it's a 20-plus pound turtle, and he's just like, yeah, man. Yeah, that's a slaunch.
It's one of those species, that in Louisiana, they still harvest them, and they're good to eat.
I just couldn't.
But here in Texas, they're so rare now because just
poaching,
pollution and shit like that. But just to see one is cool, just to see an alligator snapper. If you like to hunt and fish, that's just improving the outdoor experience. It's just cool.
Catching a literal dinosaur.
If you catch one over 50 pounds, that thing might be 80 years old. 100 years old, 200 years old. I don't know.
I've got an interesting question for you, Andrew.
All right.
You do a lot of studies in different vegetations and different crops and everything. So my question to you is, we're all big waterfowl hunters. We've grew up hunting ducks and geese, and we love it. So it seems as though the past several years of waterfowl hunting here in Southeast Texas have been absolute shit. Do you have any explanation for that? Is there a pattern that you're seeing in the past couple of years? Is there something they're doing differently up north?
I am not a authority on waterfowl, management and behavior, but I have listened to the Meat Eater podcast, and they had someone that keeps up with the waterfowl migration and duck hunting in general. My understanding is the last couple of years have been really bad where ducks breed in North America, which is the prairie potholes up in North Dakota, South Dakota, into Canada. There's a whole region out there. It's prairie, but there's pothole wetlands scattering throughout the landscape. And they're small wetlands. They could be, a half acre big, tiny little wetlands. But that is the breeding grounds for all of our ducks. And they've been bone dry for the past 2 years. Just been a droughty couple of years up there. And when they're not producing babies up there, that is going to reduce our duck numbers. And so that's my understanding is our lower numbers of ducks is related to the bad hatch in the prairie potholes over the past 2 years.
You don't think it has anything to do with the way people are now managing their land?
Up
North Dakota, South Dakota, Arkansas, Oklahoma,
Montana.
Could be.
The waterfowl hunting is becoming more popular. So in my opinion, and what I've seen, more and more people are managing their land to attract waterfowl hunters. They're running more and more guide services are popping up. So are the ducks just not coming down here? Or
there could be something to that. Most wildlife, situations like this, there's multiple things there's multiple variables. There's so many things that could be affecting waterfowl numbers and movement. But I do know the hatch, the waterfowl hatch over the past couple of years has been really low. And they do keep data on that, and they know that duck numbers are down right now because it's been so dry. Those potholes, those wetlands have been dry the past 2 years, and so they can't reproduce in those conditions, and so we're going to have less ducks. Those areas up north that are getting more management for ducks, that maybe they're attracting more ducks. That doesn't really matter when it gets cold enough and those ponds freeze over, they got to come down. They can't stick around.
I have seen it though, like in Montana firsthand. They bring out those big,
they warm the water,
those heaters,
right?
Like those literal jet engine they put up by a pond, and and that is good for the birds that do come down. Like they don't migrate down here. They stay up there and they have water to hang out on, and they're not just roosting in just dry fields. But I do think that has a big deal with us being so far south on the coast.
Right.
But also, I mean, they could just be bypassing us and staying with the food, going down to Mexico. I mean, if I was a duck, I'd be sitting on the beach.
I would go straight to Mexico if I were a duck. And a lot of ducks do go there. A lot of our ducks go straight down all the way to Mexico. Some of the best duck hunting in the world is in Mexico and down into South America.
Argentina.
Their duck season just opened up this week, and they're slaughtering silver teal and white-cheeked pintail and speckled teal, ducks you never imagined exist.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the duck numbers down there.
One of our buddies, old Joe, a part of the group, his father-in-law goes down there quite a bit, and he has mounts of every single, red spoonies, white-cheeked pintails, the yellow beak pintails, or what. They have like 6 different pintails down there.
The pochard, the red-billed pochard or whatever. I don't know.
They kill a lot down there. And
well, I'll tell you one thing that I really want to start doing, and that we've kind of already started. Porter went to Montana last year, but we want to start doing a lot more traveling for hunting waterfowl, because down here in southeast Texas, I mean, it's a limited area where you actually are successful. You got to go up north, man, to really put a hurting on them. I mean, Oklahoma is right there, but you have South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas, and then even up further than that, Montana. I mean,
Montana, Canada, you could literally slaughter them all year round. People are hunting ducks in 2.5 foot of snow. It's like ridiculous. Ow.
Yeah, but I mean, this area holds, I believe some of the most die-hard duck hunters, though, for how shitty the conditions are. I mean, these people out here that hunt the marsh they're diehards.
Yeah, they're horny for it.
They're very horny for it. But, I mean, we did the same thing in high school, and we still do it. But it's so much better up north.
Yeah, so this is our first ever episode. Technically, we've done some practice rounds, but now it's game time. I don't know how.
Yeah, I wanted to, y'all kind of asked me a couple of questions how I got into this stuff, and how did Mitch McCall and Porter May find each other and then get into the outdoors? Because it led up to this moment now where y'all have Bayou Dragons, but this was a big build-up,
Well, yeah. So me and Mitch, we were the original of the friend group. We became friends, and when we were 4 to 5 years old, kindergarten, met on the playground, hung out, and just over the years we hung out together, did a lot of outdoor shit. From it's like, hey, let's go climb the neighbor's tree, to let's go swim the ditches, go out on the bayou. And then we became friends with Tanner, the other guy in the group, who is a little bit older than us. So, like, he had a boat and a truck before we did, so we started running jug lines and shit like that. But, like, me being a part of the group, I've had the lake cabin. My grandfather and grandmother bought this lake house 20, or actually probably 30 years ago now. So, like, right before I was born, we had the lake house. So I grew up bass fishing, crappie fishing, cat fishing, and kind of got Mitchell and into doing that with me. Tanner had been doing a little bit on the bayou, but he started bass fishing with me. Joe, he started bass fishing more with me. Started bringing Andrew back in the day, back in early high school. So that was kind of our origin. But, like, in 8th grade, I remember Mitch asked, or, just kids, he's like, dude, we should make a name for ourselves, like our hunting group. And I was like, He was like, yeah, whatever. And we're like, okay, like, sure, fuck it. And so for weeks, we're sitting there, this, Southern Marsh Boys or the 409 Tech, whatever. And there's all those kind of people out there, and, good luck to them. And one day, I think Mitchell, I really want to say Mitchell had came up with the name.
I don't remember if it was me or not, to be honest. It was so long ago.
It was.
But it stuck good, and it's hung with us. It hung with us all through high school. Like, everyone, most of the people knew that we called our group the Bayou Dragons.
Yeah. I just remember Mitchell walking up, and I'm sure, I'm like 98% sure you walked up and you're like, Bayou Dragons. I was like, that is hilarious. I love that. So we joked around with it, and we actually started Instagram back in 8th grade, but that was before social media was what it is now. We were taking photos on flip phones, had to go to take the SD card out, put it in a computer, post some bullshit, low quality, like 420 or something, pixelated photos. And we thought we were doing good because we had like 1,000 followers at the time, when we were 13 and 14 years old. And then about almost 2 years ago, Mitchell had brought it up to the group again, me, Tanner, Mitch, Joe, and was like, we need to bring back the Bayou Dragons. We see people doing this kind of thing, posting cool videos and making cool content and apparel.
Oh, my thought was, if they can do it, we can do it, and we can do it even better,
Yeah.
And
we did. I think for how short we've been doing it again and actually taking it serious, I think we've grown exponentially over the last year and a half. We're at 330.
330 on TikTok, and then
30
and
point,
some change.
yeah,
on
30.8 thousand on Instagram. Facebook, a couple thousand on Facebook. YouTube, we haven't even done nothing with YouTube. This will be kind of what we use the YouTube for, but we have 3,000 followers on that. So
I want to bring the podcast to YouTube. I think it'll be good for it for sure.
I think people want to watch, like to be more interactive.
Yeah, you want to watch. I enjoy listening to a podcast. Don't get me wrong, but it's cool to sit down and if you're just on your phone messing around, watch the damn thing.
Yeah. Well, people like me, I'm using my hands, talking about catching a fish. It's
it's cool to hear the origin story of Bayou Dragons, and I was a candidate to be a Bayou Dragon. The problem was, and I went out with y'all quite a bit early high school. Went on the bayou. I remember y'all posted me one time on the Instagram. I had a big old plain bellied water snake, and I kind of started to feel like I was getting in the circle, but y'all never brought me to the levee out in the McFadden Marsh.
So it was McFadden Marsh. Actually,
never official.
Everybody from Southeast Texas, go hunt the McFadden Marsh. It's great. Just go hunt it.
Go hunt McFadden Central Unit.
Yeah, go hunt it, because
it's the best spot to hunt.
Yeah, y'all go hunt that.
Yeah.
But the levee was like
it used to be the best thing around.
It was
because no one knew about it until people. That's how any good spot gets ruined. People start bringing more people. I could name names. I'm not going to, but it got ruined, and now you can't even hunt because so many people do.
Yeah, that was when we were dick hard for it when we were kids. It was Friday night football games, finish playing football, drive out there, 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night, and camp out on the levee, bring some smoked sausage, stay till 4 a.m. You can't go into the marsh until 4, so then it's like, all right, everybody load up, go out there, massacre ducks or skunk, either one. And
you usually did pretty good out there.
I used to not remember not limiting out on ducks, and now it's like, okay, you're gonna not shoot ducks probably 10 hunts out of the year.
I think some of my best memories are from that McFadden Marsh. Just staying out there all night, and what were we smoking on? Some Swisher Sweet cigars.
Oh yeah,
some cheap gas station cigars.
Oh yeah, or no, some Black and Mild wine wood tips.
Black and Mild wine wood tip, thinking we were badass, in high school, smoking cigars and hanging out on the levee and going in and slamming some birds.
One of my favorite hunts out there, we shot a 5-man limit one time in no shit, probably 15 minutes. But we're out there on the levee, and it's 11 at night, and a random we're looking at our phone, and this is also before social, the phones were what they were now. Look at the Weather Channel. It's like, oh, there's just a little shower tonight. Ended up being a full-blown northerner, came through, and none of us brought any kind of like wet gear, nothing.
No one had.
Nobody was wearing Sitka gear back in the day either.
Nope, Sitka wasn't a thing. And I still don't have it because I don't have the money. But I got so wet, I stripped down to my underwear on the levee just to stay warm. And we got out there, I'm just shaking. Like everybody else kind of was able to stay dry. I got so wet. I got in my underwear. And sorry for all the people on the levee that were there witnessing that. But we got out there, and as soon as, like, shooting time came, you know, you get warmed up as soon as you start shooting. It's like 15 minutes later, it's like, all right, we can go. Oh, that was fast.
Yeah, he stripped of all clothing on the levee that night. And, you know, that's one of those memories that I'll never forget. You know, one of my good buddies got sopping wet. He stripped of all clothing on the levee. Of course, he had his underwear on, but that's what he had to do. All his clothing absorbed all that moisture from the rain, and it's just something he had to do to keep warm.
I don't know why I'm surprised you had your underwear on. Porter, you're pretty infamous, you know, for going in the nude.
Yeah, I know. Most of the people that are actually going to watch this will be like, I've seen him naked. It's like, I'm sorry again. Yeah. But, yeah, remember that time, were you in the boat that time we went to McFadden and that crew boat flew by us and threw up like that 5-foot wave and almost sunk us?
Yeah, we were dumb back then, man.
We didn't have lights on, and we're just rolling, and this boat flies by us, and it was one of those big crew boats. Comes by us, we're like, damn, we didn't even see that. Like, we almost nosed into it.
It looked like a yacht.
Yeah. So we're still going, and then the wave comes back, like, it's like 200 yards behind it. It just hits us.
The wave was over the front of the boat by at least 2.5 to 3 feet.
I'm talking.
The only reason that boat didn't sink is because Tanner turned into the wave and hit it straight on, and we all got soaked. But if he wouldn't have turned straight into that wave,
we might have sunk.
It 100% would have rolled that boat.
Jeez. But that was a scary. But we get out there, and I think that was one of the ones that we ended up limiting out, you know, and
freezing cold and miserable, but we
still limit out
because we were all soaked.
Well, that's part of the experience of duck hunting in Southeast Texas. You know, most of the spots you go to, you got to launch in the intercoastal. You're weaving in and out of barges, and then you get into the marsh, and then there's other mud boats around, and there's tight corners, and I mean half the damn experience is getting to the spot in the marsh.
Well, and what down here people don't realize, and that's like northern states, even just anyone outside of Texas or the Gulf Coast, like we have all our water's tidal. Yeah. So like people just go to a lake or a pond or something like that to hunt. They don't have to worry that there's not water. It's like we might get out there and it's like, oh, we're hunting mud today.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep an eye on all that with the tidal, which we really don't as much as we should. But
no,
you know, most of the time we're like, hey, you want to hunt Saturday? Let's go. You know, we'll check the report on the way.
Yeah. And it's like,
okay, check it at all.
Well, you're going hunting no matter what. We'll figure it out when you get out there.
Right. Yeah, no, there'll be some water somewhere, but it's
there's some isolated ponds that are, you know, you can that are good backups, but
well, it's like you can go to Middleton or somewhere like that. That
might be some bullshit hunting, but
oh yeah, most of the time. Well, you go to like Mud Bayou or something like that, and you go to Pond 1, and there ain't water at all out there, and you're like,
right,
oh shit, now you have 38 people trying to find 5 acres of water. That sounded beautiful.
It did, didn't it?
It sounded good on the audio.
Oh man!
But so you graduated from A&M, Andrew?
Yeah, I don't consider myself a part of the Aggie cult though.
Well, yeah,
I just went there because they have a good wildlife program.
Well, you're not a nut. So.
Yeah, I don't even have an Aggie ring.
Good. I hate it. I don't know why. I hate it. When you take a picture of an Aggie and they go like this.
Thumbs up.
And you know, like, why do you do that? Just stop.
And I mean, we're probably going to get a bunch of like, man, we're Aggie.
I have nothing against Aggie. Like, I'm
A&M is a fantastic school, and
no doubt.
I had a great experience there, but I'm just not into like traditions and shit like that. I don't know. I went there and got my degree, and I appreciated the experience.
Are you going to make your kids go there?
No.
Okay.
Only reason I went there is because it just happens to be the case that they have the best wildlife program in the state. You know, that's true. Best engineering program probably too, but
no, Lamar has a good one.
Lamar's up there for
Lamar's in the top.
Chemical engineering, right?
Lamar University, man.
Lamar, it really is, yeah.
And if no one knows, so down here we have a nice Division I college called Lamar University. Y'all should look it up. We're fantastic.
Right.
Oh yeah, LU.
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier, I mean, I was never really cut out for school. I think I graduated in the bottom 10% of my class. But
C's get
if
degrees.
anybody out there listening that kind of sucks at school, but you want to get a wildlife job, you can grind it out and make it through. It sucks, but work ethic, man.
And
it was
now
hard. It was hard ass work getting through that program. I'm not gonna lie, that shit was hard. It
yeah.
was worth it for me.
So, like, what do you do now? Like, what is your job per se?
We help companies like oil and gas companies, TxDOT, Department of Transportation. We help them through the environmental process. When they're gonna start a new project, they got to get environmental permits. So I go out there, I survey land. I'm down in South Texas hiking through the King Ranch because a pipeline's going through there or something. It's pretty cool. I get to see some cool sights. I get to survey cool lands, cool wildlife. So that that's pretty much it. It's not as fancy, like the stuff I used to do working with crocs and stuff. I'd get to travel around, going to Belize and doing research and all that. But you can't really make any money doing that. If you want to make money, you got to get into the oil and gas side of things,
especially in
roadways.
Texas.
Exactly.
That's one thing people, and I guess this will help people know that, like, this ain't what we do right now, at least what we do full time. Each one of us, like me, Mitch, Tanner, Joe, we all work in the oil and gas field. We work shift work. We do this. So, like, I get a bunch of emails or Instagram messages saying, like, hey, man, this order this, or when are y'all going to get this? And, like, it's like, as fast as we can. That's always as soon as we can, we will have whatever we can get.
And we try to work as efficient as possible, but a lot of people don't understand that we work like a lot.
Yeah.
And work 12-hour shifts, shift work. So, when we get our time off, we run the Bayou Dragons, and we try to do it the best we can. And, a lot of people just don't understand that we have a job outside of the Bayou Dragons.
Yeah, that's also another. I wish, like, we get multiple messages a week saying, how do I work for y'all? It's like, dude, I wish I could hire everyone that wants to do this.
Yeah.
But I'm not making money. I haven't made a dime off of any of this.
No, I haven't made 1 cent.
I do get a free hat every now and then, but I know the owner. So that's my perks is I get a hat and maybe a shirt. But hopefully.
All the profit that we make is reinvested back into
making nice apparel for the masses.
Good apparel and good quality stuff. We have not drawn a single dollar. None of us have, except for, different equipment we need to do different things, but we haven't profited anything from it yet.
I do hope to see y'all, 5 years down the road doing this full time. I think that'd be really cool.
It would be badass.
That'd be pretty cool.
Badass.
I'd like to do it before then.
I say 5. I'm just being conservative.
Yeah, I'd like to do this before I'm 30.
Right.
Which is
2-3 years from now.
Less than 3 years away. But I would like to make this our full time job. And the way everybody's reacting to us and the people that are being very supportive and buying our apparel and being really supportive on all social media platforms is helping us be able to do this and to be able to put out content for them. And I love that people enjoy just a bunch of dudes doing what they like to do. So they live vicariously through us, through social media.
And I'm not going to try to stroke y'all's ego, but it's very genuine. There's a lot of outdoor brands out there that, it was a bunch of city slickers that were like, man, let's start duck hunting and post fancy pictures and let's grow a huge Instagram. Y'all live and breathe this shit. And y'all aren't trying to put out a persona. Y'all are fucking the real deal.
What sets us apart from all these other brands, in my opinion, is that we're out there fucking doing the shit. We're not just making shirts with, all depicting different things that we don't do. We live and breathe this shit. You know what I mean?
And like our mascot, basically the alligator, like we have a very strong alligator background. My uncle was the biggest alligator, one of the first, actually like the first alligator processor in the state of Texas who made it big and, did everything from the hides, meats, hunting, all that, and started a whole network of businesses around what he started. and then we all got into it from catching gators to hunting gators. So we do it both. There's no.
It's all a conservation. It's all a conservation.
Like you have to
hunting alligators is conservation. Nuisance alligator capture is conservation.
Yeah, all of it. So like, there's no like, oh, y'all catch gators, y'all aren't killing them, or you're killing them and not catch.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. Everybody. It's just like duck hunting and all that shit. That's why it's
Wildlife management.
Wildlife management. You have a certain time where you have to hunt them. There's a certain time you need to get them
right
where they need to be.
I have a question for you, Andrew. And this.
Oh, here we go. I like this shit.
Well, this
Give it to
might.
me.
A bunch of people aren't going to understand this. Okay, so in the wildlife refuges all across Southeast Texas, there's a restriction on the prop size of your mud motor.
I don't like this, actually.
You might not, but coming from your background, can you explain why I can't run
11
an
inch.
11 or 11.5 inch prop versus a 9-inch prop, which I have to run according to the regulations of the refuge?
The first thing I will
Does
say
it make
is,
that big of a difference?
as someone that is very passionate about, ecosystem conservation and land conservation, the federal government does some good stuff, but they're very inefficient, and there's a lot of bullshit. I cherish our U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service refuge system. They give us a lot of hunting land, but with stuff like this, the prop size, I think it's just federal overreach